Okay, so thanks again for the invitation to share about the status of the standardization works we've been doing in ETSI. This is quite related to the legal definition, in fact, and the legal requirements for the electronic archiving that has been discussed extensively in the Council negotiations. From my side, I am a lawyer, but I've been 26 years of my life working in PKI and signatures and so on. I am one of the two living members that founded ETSI, which is the technical committee where we produce these standards. And today I will be introducing what we currently have that can support the electronic archiving initiative, but then I will be mentioning about new tool services that can be useful for the sustainability aspects of electronic archiving of big amounts of documents. I will be saying something about the new electronic ledger tool services. This is something that we have prepared from the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure team from the European Commission, where I am involved. And finally, this has been maintained in the regulation, so we will be having another approach for proving integrity and origin for electronic data and electronic documents, and therefore it will be important for the e-archiving service as well. So this has already been said in the excellent presentation we just heard. So important, e-archiving, and these are part of the recitals in the text of the Council. It allows for the long-term preservation of electronic data and associated to services. Please note, associated to services. So it is something that embodies all we need to do when the is authenticated by using an electronic signature, electronic seal, or an electronic timestamp, or whatever. It provides functional requirements for the service and a clear legal effects. And this is something that from the private sector we really do need, because otherwise it is constantly a quarrel with judges. We cannot digitize documents because they are considered without legal value, and we cannot avoid having all these amounts, big amounts of paper-based documents. So I'm really quite happy. I was happy when I saw the Belgian legislation back in 2016. And French legislation is quite good as well. So I'm really happy that I'm excited that we can finally have this in the EIDAS regulation. So we can use this in Spain, because in Spain, even public administrations cannot digitize all types of documents, because if they are not authentic in paper form, they cannot be converted in electronic form fully. So this regulation will correct some of the problems we have in Spain in the public archival space, and will provide something new for private companies. And banks are really waiting for that. And of course, as it has been said, it is for all types of documents. Important again, the regulation stresses the need to include in the preservation activities services that are auxiliary to the service. It is true, and this is why we have this presentation today. It is true that electronic data is authenticated, the authentication of origin, which is data origin authentication, by the way. This is the exact technological term, and integrity is supported by cryptography. Cryptography is regulated through the regulation of the electronic signature, seal, or timestamp services. So this is the legal part of the story. The technical part is that we deal with cryptography. And of course, we need to rely on the authenticity of things over time. And the sad story of signatures based on cryptography, all of types of them, is that cryptography won't last forever. So we need to do maintenance work at the technical level for ensuring that one document that was signed last year or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, it is still valid from a cryptographical perspective, meaning a mathematical perspective. Otherwise, we don't have proof. And we've been working roughly 18 years now in producing the proper standards we need to do the job. It was a really strong discussion that started 20 years ago. In fact, I still remember discussions with the Germans and the French, Italians as well, some Spaniards as well, when we were discussing how to validate a signature in the past. So all you're going to see today, and I promise I won't go through the full details because I don't want to punish you that much, is serving only one purpose, which is how do we validate a signature in the past. So this is the full point of everything we have standardized in ETSI in the last years, and it is quite mature. And this is important for the archival services as well, because remember always that EIDAS is a technical regulation. It means that we don't enter into the legal validity or the legal semantics of anything as such. So you can have a qualified signature which is technically valid, and it is qualified and endorsed by the regulation, but you cannot still know whether this is representing a valid legal act. So we separate things completely. This is a trust infrastructure, and this trust infrastructure is regulated to provide technical trust. And for this, we have all that EIDAS 1 regulation. Now we have extending this. We have managed to fulfill to apply the same logic to electronic ledgers, which is something we need, and they will be important for electronic archiving services as well. So let's go for it. Finally, or before showing the standard where we've done, this has been explained as well. We have something which is called the intangibility principle. It has two dimensions. One dimension is that, of course, you don't need to become a qualified service provider, so you can do what you are already doing, specifically if you are a public institution. And this is because the EIDAS is designed for providing services to a market. So it isn't, typically speaking, it is an economical activity. The thing is that because member states do not trust each other, they needed to create, this is true. So they don't trust each other. They need to produce regulations. Before EIDAS, a qualified Spanish signature was not accepted in Germany. And we have lots of reports explaining that. And this is because when you don't have harmonized rules, then you have problems. So EIDAS 1, it is a regulation that tries to resolve all the problems we have with the directive and the national implementations. So this is the value of the EIDAS, and specifically the value of having a regulation with proper technical standards. And this is why we have implemented EARCs. So this is really one of the key success points. So we have harmonized everything, so you can use it, but you are not mandated to use it. So it depends on whether you need legal effects. This was pretty well explained. And by the way, if you have legal form requirements, perhaps you won't even be able to use e-archiving services in the future. For instance, now in Spain, we have this new novelty where notaries and business registers will be forced to use electronic documents. So now we have public deeds that will be produced in electronic form, even in some cases with video conferencing systems, so that's fine. For that, we will be having e-archiving systems, but for other use cases, we won't, because there is a legal requirement of form. And EIDAS maintains this. Okay, so let's come to the technical committee. This was supposed to complement the excellent presentation as well by the CENTIC colleague that was delivered before. So we are a technical committee which is devoted to the trust services infrastructure. We were born more or less when the European Directive 1999 was approved. And since then, we have been producing a lot of requirements. So everything which is related to how do we use cryptography to support signatures, seals, timestamps, or any other kind of trust services is standardized in here, specifically from the perspective of security and policy requirements. This is what we do. In the case of signatures, and this is, slide. We have created what is called signature or seal formats. This is a kind of profile for each kind of syntax we have for signing documents or signing objects or signing whatever. And all of them are technically equivalent. It means that we refine the syntax for producing a signature when you sign an email or you sign a PDF document or you sign whatever, and we get all the information we will be needing when validating a signature in the past. This is the full story. So we have different formats. We have binary signatures, and therefore we have created standards for creating advanced signatures/seals for these binary signatures. This is called PADES. And we have always two versions. One version is what we call a baseline profile, and it is designed for having all the information contained within the document and the signature. So the document can freely circulate over the European Union. That's pretty cool, but it generates a problem. You will be getting bigger and bigger and bigger documents. You will be increasing the sustainability requirements for maintaining millions of documents. So it is cool for interchanging data, specifically in a cross-border scenario. It is really bad for e-archiving. So this is what the thing it works. But we needed to separate it because otherwise member states wouldn't accept signed documents of all forms because of the complexity of all the options. When you have too many options, then you try to simplify, so it is you facilitate acceptance. This is why we have, for all formats, tables with the proper requirements, the proper attributes you need to collect. And this is somehow starting to do e-archiving activities because you need to preserve the signature as such. And when you preserve a signature as such, you are already preserving many of the properties you need for ensuring integrity and for ensuring data origin authentication over time, which is really why we have these kind of levels of signatures. We have basic signatures, very few information. We have signatures with time. We have signatures where we can assert that the signature existed at a proper moment in time. We have signatures with all the information you need for validating things. So imagine that the provider has disappeared. You have already collected everything you need for having proof. And then we have signatures with all the information plus a new archive timestamp, because cryptography won't last forever. And therefore, from time to time, we need to re-timestamp the document so we can still ensure that we will be able to validate the signature in the past. So if you have millions of documents, this is a bit cumbersome, so it becomes a problem, and even it becomes a computational problem. Specifically, when you start looking at post-quantum supremacy models, which is what we currently are looking at in ETSI and other places, and you know that you will need to re-timestamp everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything, all of them. Not a bunch of documents, but the full set of documents we have. And so this is fine. You can see, and I will skip that part for your sake. You can have this in binary format. You can have this in the very complex, rich but complex XML format, where we have succeeded to create JDES signatures. This is, for instance, what you use for when you sign a Word document today. In the inside of the Word document, you will find a JDES signature with the same properties for the different signature levels. So we can, again, have the document, have the signature time, we have the timestamp over all the evidential material, and so on. So we can re-timestamp and re-timestamp and re-timestamp our Word document as well. Perhaps the major success we've had, though, in ETSI is precisely that we started discussions many years ago with Adobe and other players. So actually, we have created PADES, which is a really success at the worldwide level. So everyone is using PADES. It is today a complex, which is more simplified version of the CMS and JDES version, because with less information, you have the same effect, but still you need to put a new timestamp over the document from time to time. So here you have a table, you can have a look at it. And well, in some European Nordic countries, states, they design a specific format, which is called ASIC, so they can combine information and they can have detached signatures related, or detached timestamps related to the content. This is very interesting. Now in Catalonia, there is a new project going on for implement an X-road infrastructure, which is used a high profile level for synchronicity of using ASIC, which is nice. And again, this is very, 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 very rich. So we have many options, that many options that you will run into problems if you implement all of them. But again, you still need, when cryptography becomes quick, you still need to re-timestamp everything. And finally, for new environments, such as the new EIDAS2 electronic attestations of attributes to service, we've had designed something which is called JDES, which means JSON-based signatures. And this is what we are going to put when we issue verifiable attestations or verifiable credentials of any sorts in the European Digital Wallet. And in fact, the very interesting news in here is that we are able to produce selective disclosure on documents signed with this JDES plus selective disclosure, so you can share just a part of the document, which is very nice if you want to have more security, but you also want to have more privacy. So this is what is going to support the EIDAS2 approach for, not really for wallets, but because wallets are not mandated to use any kind of signature, but member states will decide. Well, they have already decided and it is published, but for attestation of attributes. And we will need to put a qualified seal in an attestation of attributes we issue. For instance, if we are the university, if we issue diplomas, we want diplomas to be recognized everywhere with legal effect, then we need to put our JDES signature with a qualified seal, and therefore we have standardized JDES as well. And on its way is the standardization of the signing types inside QR codes, which is called CBOR ADES, which is right now on the oven. Pretty cool. This is a very compact system. Everything is based on PKI, everything is based on cryptography. Therefore, we need other things for maintaining security over time. And this is why eArchiving needs these kind of services. This has already been mentioned, so I just want to note for you that we have different technical specifications where we have already entered into this discussion. In fact, all the work that had already been done in some governments, particularly in France, in Belgium, in Germany as well, has been put into ETSI. So we have created something that it might work as a kind of true service for preserving not only signatures, but any kind of data. This has already been mentioned before, so I just want to give you the reference numbers of these standards. This is ongoing work, so there are first versions. But this is interesting because it is the first time we have a general technical specification for ensuring the validity over time of any kind of data by using digital signature techniques. So, of course, there are other ways to preserve information, but in this case, we're using digital signature techniques to preserve anything, whereas it is signed information or not, or unsigned information. Here we have 3 models, and this is just for having different ways to provide the service. We have a model where you provide the service with receiving the document, even storing the document if you want forever, and then you augment the signature. This is nice, but we will clearly need to move into other approaches because the idea of real-time stamping all documents is unsustainable. The proposal that we are studying right now into the technical team of ETSI is to use a ledger for storing all the information you will need to collect and store inside the signature. So instead of going for augmenting the content of each signed document and augmenting with more archive timestamps all the information, all the signatures, which will generate lots of sustainability problems. Instead of that, we propose that we store all the information you will need for maintaining any kind of signatures in one place, which is a ledger, a distributed ledger. In this case, this, of course, required a legislation. So now, with the new ledger regulation, we will be having this. And this is one of the use cases for managing trust in ETSI. So this is something we need to study in the future, and probably in next versions of the ETSI TC ESI standardization program, you will see something about this. So first mechanism. Second one is with temporary storage. So at the end of the day, you still have your preservation strategy, but you don't necessarily keep the document forever, or you don't have the document at all. So you receive a hash of the document you need or the signature you need to preserve, and you do the rest of the work. Important things. We have created a protocol. So this is important. I guess it should be considered into TC 468 technical committee. So that's there, so you can use it. And we have some data models that can be useful. Again, it is always oriented to preserving anything by using digital signature techniques. And finally, with all that information, I just want to make some final remarks. Of course, we can assert that there is a clear maturity of all the true services regulation when it comes, and the technical specifications when it comes to supporting the new e-archiving service. Of course, we've learned, and it has cost a lot, how to preserve signatures, and therefore it means that if the electronic archiving initiative is using signatures, then we can contribute all of that. It has been designed, has been tested. Each year is yearly tested again. We get new enhancements. We produce change requests, so it is fully maintained at the technical committee. We've seen the emergence of national approaches aimed to regulating electronic archiving as a digital service. So with a strictly technical vision, this is nice at the EIDA regulation. It fits into the logic of the EIDAs. Of course, we can now complement this view with the new electronic ledger through service. The idea that we are having immediately this approved is really exciting, but of course it opens new challenges, and it will transform market. When I see not only public administrations, but specifically private companies struggling with documents, with the passive archive, it is clear that once they have this, specifically from the perspective of the digitalization of documents, they will get rid of a lot of documents. And we need this legal effect in a cross-border scenario, because otherwise the digital single market will not work in an efficient way. And finally, this is something that won't affect the archival practice. So whether you need to go further to go and do your business, you can use this as a technical tool. So we can imagine that company markets will be producing this, will be delivering this, and then you will be using this for leveraging your work. And that's all from my side. Many thanks.